Although the Russian army is the second largest army worldwide, it is losing its supremacy in the war with Ukraine as well as is shedding heavy ammunition as well as weapons on several fronts. This is a concern that the Russian military takes the threat of and is much from being the primary problem. The main problem is that the soldiers of the Russian army can leave the war at any time as well as the morale and fatigue triggered by the failing as well as excessively extreme management in the army. Russia's senseless battle, which attracted the reaction of the entire globe, has actually been going on for practically 4 months, and many thanks to the solid resistance of Ukraine, Russia cannot make any development in the war in Ukraine. Already, Russia has actually begun to lose the areas it inhabited. Along with the psychological weight of the heavy loss in the region, the soldiers of the Russian forces are also really disrupted by Moscow's attitude in the direction of them. Some Russian elite special forces left their locations, while others began to refuse to visit the front in Ukraine. As a matter of fact, according to the audio recordings obtained by the Ukrainian intelligence, it is specified that some Russian soldiers came to a psychological factor prepared to kill the generals that led the attacks. Recently, Russian nationwide Guard Rogovardia elite soldiers were formally dismissed after they declined their obligations to take part in Russian head of state Vladimir Putin's internationally condemned armed forces action against Ukraine. This elite military unit was seen as a system that was expected to be of fantastic use in Ukraine as well as would certainly lead Russian procedures. At the exact same time, Rogovardia was called Putin's unique device. This device rejected to take part in the battle in Ukraine and was for that reason punished as well as dismissed by Putin. The soldiers challenged the decision, that included the dismissal of 115 elite Russian soldiers. The Russian courts located this choice justified and mentioned that the soldiers must battle at the front when their state required it. The situation in the Russian army currently is so awful that Russian leaders favor to protect devices instead of conserve the lives of injured Russian soldiers on the battleground. It is additionally stated that material and artillery support was not provided to the troops that went also much. The Ukrainian Armed Forces Intelligence Directorate reported that Russian leaders are attempting to secure military equipment by prohibiting vehicle drivers to leave wounded soldiers or to supply supplies to troops that have gone also much. Rejecting to run the risk of tools to evacuate wounded employees on the battlefield as well as not enabling the emptying of the wounded can certainly be considered a flagrant offense of armed forces professionalism and reliability. Considering Russia's rough position and the shocked state of the soldiers from this war, Putin's dream came to be much more impossible with each passing day as well as started to develop into a nightmare for Putin. Besides, Russia might also lose Crimea in addition to Donetsk and Luhansk. At the end of this war, for Putin's ambitions, several private citizens were hurt and private infrastructures were destroyed in Ukraine, which was taken by the Russian army for the invasion effort on February 24. There was no legitimate or sensible reason for this. At the exact same time, over 30,000 soldiers from both Ukraine as well as Russia shed their lives. Russian military workers' losses, which are now over 33,000, remain to enhance. Consequently, the fact that Russian soldiers did not participate in the Ukrainian war does not look like a questionable scenario. According to the court, the arbitrary refusal of soldiers to meet a main responsibility represents such a vital problem as to deprive them of their army service. Additionally, while the Russians show up to greatly support Putin's actions targeting his Eastern European neighbors, there have actually been indicators of unhappiness and also resistance, considering that the beginning of the major intrusion in February, in the very early days of the battle, countless anti-war militants across the country were arrested by the Russian authorities. Some legislators as well as members of the Russian elite likewise openly opposed the assault on Ukraine. As an outcome of these demonstrations, Russia's hefty ascents against the resistance came to light. A certain section of the Russian population reluctant to participate in Putin's unfair war rejected the war. Leonid Vasukovich, a member of the communist event Intrigue, reported that he called on Putin to stop the months-long war. The phone call also included the withdrawal of Russian troops from Eastern Europe, drawing attention to the young people that die each day. Vasukovich specified that, as an outcome of stopping Putin, the number of orphans in the country will boost and they do not desire this. At the same time, we require to look deeply at the splits in the Russian army, which we briefly discussed. At the beginning, the Ukrainian military said in a statement that Russian soldiers prepared to eliminate the generals that led the attacks. The statement declares that the Russian forces almost killed General Valery Selachuk and also his bodyguards that pertained to the Donetsk area to encourage the soldiers at the front. So just how can such an event take place within the world's second biggest army? The soldiers rejected to obey the order and were ready to explode the high guests. That's why the Russian general fled from the front in humiliation, wagging his tail. It claimed it was stated that this was shown by a telephone call obtained by the Ukrainian protection solution of a Russian soldier named Zagabnikov and also his other half. As a recap of the conversation, the Russian general who came for motivation was compelling the Russian soldiers to strike Donbass. Only 215 soldiers stayed from the 600,600-strong BTG. This can only be a suicide goal. All the soldiers in BTG refused to combat as well as agreed to be killed there. Russian soldiers in BTG were endangered with guns to assault, and also Russian Spetsnaz aimed weapons at them. Russian soldier Zagabnikov's last sentence in the conversation with his spouse was "That's all, also Spetsnaz." Russian unique pressures aimed weapons at us and also we aimed guns at them. In other words, we nearly fired each various other. He got in his vehicle and also drove off, stated. It is additionally recognized that Russian armed forces systems have been combating in the area for a long period of time as a result of insufficient devices in feeding conditions. A soldier that has actually been in the area given that the initial days of the war who later returned to his nation specifies that the Russian military's absence of equipment is amazing when they go to the region. The soldier mentions that they are not even offered with night vision, which this is not a really expensive cost for Russia. Russian soldiers specified that they saw the Russian army as the biggest military worldwide before the battle. Now they claim that they recognize that this idea is very incorrect. One of the soldiers who was in Russia for obligatory army solution states that he authorized a professional agreement and signed up with the Russian military for 2 years. He stresses that they were taken to the region to perform exercises around Ukraine before February 24th, and after that they hastily crossed the Ukrainian boundary and began the strike. Nonetheless, after crossing the Ukrainian border and facing extreme Ukrainian strikes and also bombardments, he mentions that even that day he comprehended that the Russian army would certainly lose. When parked at evening, he says they are continuously pounded both on the go as well as. In his 50-man device, 10 individuals were killed and also 10 hurt. Mostly all of his sidekicks were under the age of 25. Soldiers say a lot of the casualties resulted from Russia's haste. He reports that they progressed without any security behind them and did not even conduct minesweepers. He says that if these had actually been accomplished, we would certainly have shed much fewer soldiers, understanding that they were only used as bait in the region where they were ousted as employees. The soldier later on returned to Russia. Lawsuits were brought versus him, yet they were not proceeded. The general psychology of the Russian soldiers appears to be summed up over a solitary soldier if you discover. A lot of the Russian soldiers believed they would only perform one exercise around Ukraine before February 24th, as well as numerous of them found themselves in the battle without also bidding farewell to their family members. There have actually been remarks that Putin is strolling a youth to fatality for his very own ambitions, as well as not reverting from this mistake will certainly create much more Russian youths to be in that war inadvertently, possibly also eliminated, possibly also die. No matter, both Russian as well as Ukrainian soldiers are sufferers of Putin, and also when we consider the centuries-lengthy background of world battle, there is never ever a victor. Nevertheless, there is much to be shed. We wish that firstly, Ukrainian as well as Russian soldiers and family members will certainly discover peace, and Ukraine will certainly preserve the territorial integrity and freedom it should have, according to the court. Russian soldiers in BTG were threatened with weapons to assault, and even Russian Spetsnaz pointed guns at them. Russian soldiers specified that they saw the Russian military as the largest military in the globe before the war, but now they say that they recognize that this thought is really incorrect. There have actually been comments that Putin is walking a youth to death for the purpose of his very own passions, and also not reverting from this blunder will certainly create numerous even more Russian young individuals to be in that battle unintentionally, possibly also killed, possibly even pass away regardless. Both Ukrainian as well as Russian soldiers are victims of Putin, and when we look at the centuries-lengthy background of globe battle, there is never a champion.